Some eminent Nigerians are joining forces, asking for a better leadership and handling of government as a sense warning ahead of 2023 election to the established political forces. And the Senate has set up a committee for the harmonization of the Electoral Act amendment as Nigerians anticipate an effective law to administer elections. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Politics Today live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimbaloye in Lagos. Before we get started with our major focus tonight, some very interesting conversations that you need to be a part of tonight, because both of this discourse has to do with you, and you need to be in the know. But before we get into all of that, let's check out some of your political roundup stories.
Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo today chaired the weekly Federal Executive Council meeting as President Muhammadu Buhari is away in New York for the United Nations General Assembly meetings. Today, the Council approved 4 members from the Ministries of Education, Water Resources, Health and Information and Culture. The Minister of State for Education, Mr. Emeka Nwajibia, said Council approved the provision of furniture and equipment for the Federal Polytechnic Bauchi to the tune of 121 million naira contracted to Turaki Heritage Nigeria Limited. The House of Representatives is questioning the probable exclusion of Rivers State from the list of states that will benefit from the project that will be executed with the federal government. This is sequel to a motion of urgent public importance raised by Representative Solomon Bob, alleging that Rivers State is the only state out of the 36 states to be left out. The House has mandated its Committee on Aid and Loans to liaise with the Presidency to include Rivers in the project if it is found to be the only state that has been excluded.
Rivers State, which contributes enormously to the country's foreign exchange earnings and through whose oil and gas resources a large part of the loan repayment depends, could be inexplicably excluded from benefiting from projects for which the loans are being sought. If all other states are included in the list of states beneficiaries for the loans, Rivers State must be included.
Absolutely. Former Governor of Ekiti State, Chief Segun Oni, has won the People's Democratic Party as he announces his intention to join the governorship race in Ekiti State. The Director General of his campaign organization told journalists at the PDP headquarters in Abuja that the former governor has picked its expression of interest form for the June 2022 governorship election in the state, maintaining that the party's success or failure in the contest will largely depend on its choice of candidate.
The message of the people of Ekiti and PDP is very loud and clear. Segun Oni, we know him. Segun Oni, we want him. Give us Segun Oni as your candidate and we will do the rest. We shall use our votes to deliver and usher in a PDP-led government in Ekiti State.
The Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria, AMCON, has taken possession of the residence believed to be owned by a former governor, Abdul Fattah Ahmed, of Kwara State. The property, located at number 19B Abdulrazak Road, GRA, Ilorin, is among the properties seized by AMCON following an interim order granted by the Federal High Court, Lagos. A visit to the house in Ilorin today shows the court interim order posted on the gate of the structure.
Thank you so much, everyone. The second issue for tonight is about who to vote into office, who becomes Nigeria's president. Some people are saying that they are the third force and they want to unseat the established political forces. Just one of the issues tonight. But the first issue is about our elections and how we can make it effective, getting an effective law. So today on the floor of the Senate has set up a 7-member conference committee to harmonize the Electoral Act Amendment Bill with the House of Representatives. The Senate and the House of Representatives passed the bill for third readings earlier in July this year and differed on the provisions of Clause 52, subsection 3 which deals with electronic transmission of election results. In line with legislative practices and procedures, the President of the Senate, Senator Hamad Lawan, set up the committee with Senate leader Senator Yahya Abdullahi as the chairman. Tonight, we take a look at the task of getting the Electoral Act amendment together and getting it ready for President Muhammadu Buhari to sign. But what are the issues we're going to be taking up tonight? First and foremost, the Senate set up this committee. What would they be doing? Well, looking at the gray areas that have been major talking point and how they will harmonize all the differences from both chambers of the National Assembly. But the bottom line tonight will be achieving an effective election law that Nigerians can be proud of, that can give us the desired election for this country. So let's get talking, everyone. I have joining me a member of that Senate committee that has been set up today. He's also the spokesperson of the Senate, Senator Ajibola Basiru. He's in our Abuja studio. Beside him is the national chairman of the National Conscience Party, Alhaji Yunusa Tanko. And from Oxford in the United Kingdom is an election observer and a lawyer, the Chief Executive of Yaga Africa, Mr. Samson Itodo. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming tonight. Let me begin with the Senate spokesperson, Senator Basiru. Give us a sense of the task. We've not heard about the House of Reps committee, but your own committee has been set up. You were part of the committee that worked on the Electoral Act amendment. What will be the task? How soon can we get this started?
I think the essence of the committee is to have consensus on areas where in certain clauses passed in the bill at the House of Representatives and the Senate, there were differences. There were about 17 or 18 items that there were differences in the clauses that were passed. The parliamentary practice is, because we practice a bicameral legislature, you have a situation whereby where versions of bills passed in certain clauses differ, a conference committee of equal numbers will be appointed, and whatever is agreed by the committee will be deemed to be what has been passed. When it's adopted by the two chambers, then it will be forwarded to the president. So I will say that setting up the committee at the Senate, of course, we expect that the House of Representatives will also set up their own committee, and then when we meet item by item, each of those areas where we have had different versions of clauses adopted, we will either adopt what has been agreed to by the House of Rep, or we adopt that of the Senate, and eventually we'll come up with the final bill that will be sent to Mr. President for assent. I think similar experience also occurred in relation to the PIA, and a conference committee of similar nature was set up, and the agreement reached was adopted in the plenary and then forwarded to the president by assent. So we are confident that in a matter of 2 weeks, the new electoral bill will come to light by the grace of God.
That's interesting. But, you know, in a long time, the Electoral Act being worked upon is perhaps one of the most controversial bills that have gone through the National Assembly, where we saw, in fact, a colleague of yours just challenged the Senate to put it to the process of passing the bill to vote, which also brought about a lot of controversy. But now, the position of Senate is known. When you voted, and the position of the House of Reps is also known. But in all of this position is what a lot of people, you remember a leader of the APC, what some members of eminent Nigerians have come out to say is the position of the APC. It does look like what the APC has an agenda for its lawmakers to push in the National Assembly, and that what some opposition lawmakers had queried and debated and worked against. But in all of this, The question will be what the president will sign, because we know that the last time the president refused to assent the Electoral Act amendment. So the question is what the integrity of what happened the last time, the controversy that that bedeviled the process the last time. What are the assurances you can give Nigerians today that what is going to be harmonized will be something that will give Nigerians joy about their elections?
Ashew, I'm happy the question you have put to me, and I'm equally happy that my friend Itodo is online from the United Kingdom. On last Friday, I was part of a very important discussion with civil society organizations and the active stakeholders in democratic process in Nigeria, which was hosted by Yaga Africa. And at that forum, the areas that there are issues were highlighted. And I will say that except for one or two areas, even civil society organizations gave kudos to the present effort at reforming our electoral law. And I will say that it would, just as I said at the Yaga program, it would be wrong to zero in only on an area in the Electoral Act as the basis and the barometer to measure the success or otherwise of the process. And I say this because this idea of APC agenda cannot be true. And I say it cannot be true for the fact that in the two chambers, you have majority of APC members, and I stand to be corrected. Had it been that we have an APC agenda, we will have similar fashion of the bill passed in the two chambers. But as we have about 17 items where we have divergent view. So the question is that the majority in the Senate and the majority in the House of Representatives voted differently because they voted according to their perception and idea of the legislative intent of each and every provision. I understand anybody to say whether the rep or the Senate does not have the requisite majority to pass identical legislation. So first and foremost, we must remove politicizing serious matter as electoral amendment. And I'll say this because the success of democratic process, the success of governance depend on having a transparent, fair and free leadership recruitment process, if I may use that word for what election means, particularly in a developing country like ours. And I will say that the Electoral Act has come up with certain radical departure that has improved the integrity of electoral process. First and foremost, in the area of recognition of smart card reader, you will discover that one of the controversy has been that the smart card reader was only recognized by guideline of INEC, and that became a legal problem in the case of Wike and Peter side, where there was evidence that the number of votes recorded for a particular candidate far exceeded what was recorded on the smart card reader. But the Supreme Court held that non-compliance with the card reader, it does not amount to non-compliance with the electoral law, and it is just a mere guideline. But now, under the new Electoral Act, smart card reader had been recognized, but the Senate version of the bill, which is one of the areas of divergence, recognized other technological device for the purpose of verification, identification, and authentication of register, which means that there is ample recognition of the use of technology, particularly for that important aspect of electoral process, which is accreditation. Similarly, even the opening clause of Section 52, which has been said to be in controversy, recognize open secret ballot as the mode of election and voting by way of electronic voting. And also, when it comes to overvoting, contrary to what is in the existing law, the new Electoral Act has provided that overvoting will be reckoned according to accreditation, not according to the residual numbers of voters in the voters register. This is also a quantum leap from the existing law. Then when it comes to grants of election petition, the grant of election petition by which exclusion of candidate had been used to invalidate a properly conducted election on flimsy grant had also been taken away, and properly articulated election grants for challenging election had been put in the law. Similarly, the use of agents in the electoral process has also been strengthened in terms of their being able to play active role in being able to supervise the election and ensure that the process is free and fair. Registration of voters is also an area where there has been serious reform in this regard, by ensuring that even fiscally challenged people are disaggregated in the context of electoral register, and making it an offense for people who are partisan and politically involved to be involved in the process of voters registration. Right. So these are some of the important provisions that have been put in the Electoral Act, which I think need to be spotlighted. And one of the takeaway from the stakeholder engagement last Friday was that there's even a need for us to properly educate Nigerians to be able to make use of these important provisions, and not just to allow people to run commentary on the basis of their individual nuances that is not predicated on knowledge and clear articulation of the express provision of the electoral bill.
Yeah.
So I would
Senator,
say where there are issues.
Yeah, let me allow other views on this matter. Let me bring in another politician. The man beside you is the national chairman of a political party, and perhaps he's gone to elections and is on either the receiving end of the stick when it comes to some of the evils that we're seeing in our elections. Alhaji Tanko, what are your views on the process that led to what we saw, the altercations, the differences that we saw on the floor of the National Assembly, and going into this harmonization process? What are you expecting the National Assembly to do? What will make you happy in fixing our elections?
To be more transparent in their processes. If you remember, some couple of months ago, we challenged the National Assembly as regard to the processes of some of the areas in which we felt that their doctrine, the positions that were already being articulated and presented to the Assembly long before now. And when that issue broke out, there was a lot of deniers of back and front from both the National Assembly. Some are denying the fact that, no, certain areas were not to be touched, i.e. the issue of electronic transmission of results, and two, was subjugating the powers of INEC under the whims and caprices of the National Assembly, which is totally unacceptable. And then the issue of political nomadism, where individuals can just move from political party A in the morning and move to political party B in the evening, and yet we will lead credence to that particular person and still allow him to continue to be on his seat. And those are the areas that have really have affected the political parties from growing. And that is why we also talk about the issue of political financing. These issues is inimical to the survival of our democracy, where the younger ones who under the not too young to grow campaign cannot be able to vie for position based on the monetizations of our political system. These are areas that are very serious, and Nigerians are really crying that they want a clean, clear election vis-a-vis the fact that we have tested the area of transmission of results. And here we must give kudos to the INEC chairmen who have stand very firmly on his position that no electronic verification of vote, of accreditation, and no vote. These are some of the things that will give credence to our election. Remember very well, both myself and you were all at Edo and Ondo, where we saw the very vivid action of this Z-Pad, and it transmitted this result incredibly well. There was no any controversy by the transmission of results. So we want the National Assembly to come clean in this regard. And in fact, even if they are harmonizing, which of course distinguished senator has clearly mentioned, we will be happy to get this particular harmonization more openly done, so that Nigerians will agree on the position, not only to have it in probably in a group of people. The Nigerian populace, who are the actual voters who are supposed to benefit from this particular process, should be in the know as regard to some of these particular processes that is going to be harmonized. Does it really meet their yearning and aspiration? Does it take care of the political parties who have been crying foul play for how they have been stigmatized and being gagged? Does it also take care of the interests of those who have been standing under rain and water to vote for the persons of their choice? Are they going to get the dividends of the
democracy, would their vote really count? And then at the end of it all, they will be happy that yes, they have voted and their voting counts, and the result that they voted for is what is actually going to be announced. These are the gray areas in which we are seriously concerned about. In fact, to a particular point in time, we even asked Mr. President to hold on to his assent until these particular gray areas have been clearly done, so that Nigerians will be so comfortable that the right thing is being done. We can't miss the process now, because a lot of Nigerians are tired. They are willing to come out and register to vote, especially those who are within the age of 18 years and above. But their apprehension has always been, would I come out and vote and then my vote will not count? Will I vote for somebody that will leave my party, the party that I voted for in the morning, and then in the evening he's still maintaining his seat? Or will I vote and at the same time not get the dividend of democracy that I'm yearning for? So for us, the National Assembly owe Nigerians a duty, a very fundamental duty, to make sure that they do the right thing for the benefit of the Nigerian people, so that Nigeria can learn from this and be united more towards our electoral processes.
Let me bring in Samson Itodo here. Himself and his team, they've worked on some of these areas alongside with some of these National Assembly members. But Samson, what are your biggest fears in relation to the gray areas? Because now is the time to start talking about the gray areas. We've all talked about this process forever. And now that the harmonization is going to be done, is a good time to then identify this to the lawmakers so that they know what Nigerians are expecting. Can you give us your biggest fears in relation to the gray areas?
Thank you very much, Shewan. Good evening to everyone. I think the fears just lie in the way this process has been managed, particularly with respect to some key amendments that are central to the integrity of the 2023 elections and also central to our electoral process. I agree with the senator that there are landmark provisions in the Electoral Bill 2021, and we must also inform Nigerians that this is a comprehensive bill. It's not an amendment bill, but at the end of this exercise, we would have a new legislation for our elections. And because we're going to have a new legislation for our elections, it's important that some of these concerns expressed by citizens are addressed. I agree with the senator that there are about 17 disparities in the votes between the Senate and the House, but some of them to a large extent are tangential. But if we look at three major amendments where they diverged, those amendments are very critical to the process. First is the amendment on, electronic accreditation of voters. Yes, the Senate voted to retain electronic accreditation by the smart card reader and any technological device. That is a fantastic provision. It gives INEC the latitude to deploy new technologies for electronic accreditation of voters. And in the last ISOCO by-elections, INEC did deploy, the new device it's using for electronic accreditation of voters. If you look at the provision of the House voted to delete any technological device. And the implication of that is INEC is going to be conscripted to the use of the smart card reader. Now, those smart card readers are already obsolete technology that are incompatible with our electoral process. And so we'll urge that the Harmonization Committee adopts the provision as passed by the Senate with respect to electronic accreditation of voters, to the effect that it grants INEC the latitude to deploy any technology for electronic accreditation of voters. The second point, and the most controversial, is the one on electronic transmission of results. Whilst the House position, which is to the effect that INEC, the discretion to determine the procedure for voting and transmission of results should be vested with INEC, is the position that is in tandem with the demands of Nigerians and all electoral stakeholders. But the Senate voted differently, subjecting INEC's power and authority to scrutiny or approval by NCC and by National Assembly. Now, Nigerians have a problem with that particular provision because it's an assault to the independence of INEC and its constitutional protection that it derives from Section 78 of the Constitution. And so we urge that this particular harmonization committee will not adopt the provision or the proposal by the Senate, that it adopts the provision of the House. So it grants INEC the discretionary powers to deploy weather technology for the transmission of results. Now, a lot of Nigerians, have built consensus on this issue. And so if the senator, as he has said, if they are true representatives of the people, it shouldn't be about the partisan or the priorities of the legislator. I think when you're making sensitive legislations of this nature, is to look at what the stakeholders and citizens are demanding. And as representatives of the people have said, we want electronic transmission of results to serve as a check on the manual process. The best that the National Assembly can do is to give the Nigerian people what they want because they are true representatives of the people. And if you look at the controversy when this bill was passed in July, where the NCC was invited to address the House, the NCC literally lied to Nigerians. It deceived the lawmakers that Nigeria was not ripe for electronic transmission of results. But INEC has come up, the institution and the agency that is responsible for conducting election has come up to say, we've got the infrastructure. We have deployed the electronic transmission of results for previous elections. Since August 2020, INEC has conducted elections in 20 states, in about 26 constituencies. And in all these elections, INEC deployed electronic transmission of results. In the 2019 elections, Yiga Africa's PVT clearly showed that in over 65 to 70% of the polling stations, the smart card readers were used to transmit results from the polling stations. So this practice is not alien to the Nigerian electoral process. So we are concerned that the legislature at this point we want to jettison it.
Yeah, so sorry to cut in. If the PIB situation is anything to go by, are you expecting any surprise or surprises from the Electoral Act amendment? After the harmonization, where there were differences between the House and the Senate in the PIB, 5%, 3% on the issue of the community host, what goes into the community host, and now we saw what eventually happened. In the case of the amendment to the Electoral Act, are you expecting any surprises after the harmonization?
Honestly, with this process and with the way legislations have been managed in the past, I am very concerned. I wouldn't be surprised if this bill, even though the National Assembly adopts the House's position on electronic transmission, that when it goes to the president will assent to it. But as Nigerians, we look up to the leadership of this country to deliver on their promise of leaving a legacy of an electoral process, that respects and protects the sanctity of the votes. And the only way they can do that, and this is a legacy issue for the president, if the National Assembly transmits a bill that does not, contain issues like electronic transmission of results, I'll urge the president to work closely with the National Assembly to revisit that provision. And I want to urge the senator, and I know him very well, and I know what he represents. I want to urge him, please listen to the voices of Nigerians. Nigerians have said, grant INEC the power, the discretionary power to determine electronic transmission. Do not assault the independence of the commission by subjecting that decision to approval by an agency of government that is unknown to the Constitution or by the National Assembly's approval. Because you are not legislating for the 2023 elections alone. You are legislating for future elections, and we have to be futuristic. So I want to urge our legislators, please look beyond, these immediate political gains that you think you might accrue from an amendment of this nature, that it's not in the best interest of our electoral process to do so.
Samson Itodo is an election observer and a lawyer, and is also the lead at Yiga Africa. Thank you so much, Samson. But when we come back, the senator and Alhaji Yunus Atanko, they're still going to be with me, and our conversation will shift to 2023 election and the threat of the third force. Our conversation will be on the third force and the warning ahead of the 2023 presidential election. Who is afraid of the third force? They're planning to challenge the status quo. We'll find out after this break, everyone. Join us. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us, and welcome back to the conversation. Let's get to our other matter for conversation. So, a lot of people have been talking about where the 2023 presidency should be zoned. Some people are saying, well, it should go to the south. In all of this conversation, ahead of the 2023 general elections, some prominent Nigerians have established what they call a third force Rescue Nigeria project, the RNP, to give Nigerians alternative platform to the All Progressives Congress APC and the People's Democratic Party PDP. Take a listen to one of the RNP members yesterday at their meeting in Abuja.
We must change the conversation around leadership. The first thing we should want to know about our president is not which part of the country he comes from, rather how competent is he or she. What is the content of his or her policy document? What is his or her team made up of? We also seek to ensure a seismic shift from the politics of big men to the politics of big ideas. The empty politics of big men has not taken us anywhere but down the drain. We simply can't continue this way. We also have to prioritize knowledge because, as we all know, in the 21st century, knowledge is the greatest capital. That is the only thing that gives countries the competitive edge. Governance must be driven by ideas. It has to be creative and must create solutions, especially job creation, economic growth, and prosperity. It must appreciate the future, deploy technology, develop the human capital, the most precious component of every development plan, protect the environment, ensure food security, as well as human dignity.
That's Alhaji Usman Bugaje, one of the members of the Rescue Nigeria project. The agenda is that there needs to be a change in the status quo going into 2023. There is another group of the third force, the National Consultative Front, and they've also welcomed the RNP. They said they want to work together in changing the status quo. So what are the issues for conversation at this moment? There are eminent Nigerians who are coming together and joining forces. They want to challenge the status quo. And they also were talking about 2023 leadership and the puzzle that it has raised. The bottom line tonight is that can the third force create an upset? That's a big question, isn't it? My guest in our Abuja studio, the Senate leader and the chieftain of the APC, Senator Ajibola Basiru, and the national chairman of the NCP, and a member of the National Consultative Front, Alhaji Yunusa Tanko. Let's begin again with the conversation, the fresh conversation that we're having. Alhaji Tanko, you are one of the Consultative Front, and one of those who believe that there is a need for a third force going into 2023. What is your agenda? It does look like you guys are condemning the APC and the PDP. What are you telling Nigerians?
Okay, when the news broke out about the NRP, the idea behind it is that for long, we have been talking about leadership problem in our country, and we've been able to identify problems with leadership. So eminent Nigerians have been working around this particular need for us to get it right. I tried to consult with leaders of the meeting of yesterday. I spoke with Professor Pat Tomi, And at the same time, I spoke with Wale Arishkorkala, who is a member of that particular forum. And the idea behind it is just for us to get the right peg in the right hole. We've understand that for a quite long time, Nigerians just manage most of the leaders that we have. Let's give an example. We've had people who have led their state very well, like, for example, Tonko Makura from Nasarawa State, and we have something like Dr. Olusegun Mimiko, who have done excellently well in their endeavors, and so many other Nigerians like that. We've identified this kind of individuals. I'm just giving you an example. So we need to start identifying these kind of persons and put them in the right places so that Nigerians can be better. It's not about a political party now. At the beginning, is about the issue of getting the right people. People just come and want to contest elections, and then they don't have the capacity to really lead. They don't have what it takes to do what they're supposed to. They don't even have, sometimes they don't even have the health capacity to be able to lead this country. And that has really put us in a quagmire. What we are saying right now is that we want Nigerians to really identify the kind of person they want. We're having a template in our mind that, look, we want to throw it open to Nigeria. What kind of leader do you want? What kind of councillor do you want? What kind of chairman of a local government do you want? What kind of a member of House of Representatives do you want? What kind of a rep do you want? What kind of a senator? What kind of a governor? And what kind of a president? What is the capacity? What is the quality that will depict that particular leader that will lead you aright? Because sometimes it will amaze you to find out that...
Alaji Danko, in some of your conversations, your party has said, for example, a member of your group, Dr. Akim Baba Ahmed, they said, look, PDP and APC is a problem of Nigeria. That's according to him. And it does look like your group, you're saying that if you are looking to go forward in Nigeria, we should not look in the way of APC and PDP. Why is your group thinking in that way?
Because Nigerians are tired. They've tested both sides and they've seen the end result. And here we are now. You cannot even actually distill within the two parties because the legal framework gives opportunities for somebody to move from one party to another in the morning. We've seen a case study of individuals now, those who have been condemning a political party, their leadership, and castigating them using all kind of nomenclature to describe individual. But today, they are now members of that political party, even trying to hold higher position. Nigerians don't want that. Nigerians have lost that kind of trust in such individuals. So that is the reason why I understand that Nigerians are really yearning for an opportunity to have an alternative that can give them something different from what they used to know. And that is why we are working together. I can tell you authoritatively, we've been speaking to each other, we've been having meetings, and we've been talking, and we've been strategizing. We, in this particular opposition, you may call it, we are working very hard. Very soon, we will make announcements as regard to where we think or what we think, how we can collaborate with Nigerians to give them the opportunity of having an alternative that they desire.
Let me allow the senator to react to this. He's a chieftain and a leader of the APC. You've heard what Alaji Tanko is saying. And his thinking is that, just like some of his colleagues, that the solution of Nigeria going forward does not lie in the APC or the PDP. In fact, they call your political party and the PDP Siamese twins.
You see, every time the election is coming, you see a group of people who don't even know what the rudiment of politics is about coming around to mesmerize the public and entertain us, if I may use that word, with all sense of responsibility. As far as I'm concerned, you can mark me, you can mark today's date, nothing, and I say nothing, seriously will come out of the so-called efforts that is put in place. And I'll give you many reasons. Yes, there are about the number of political parties have been pruned down, and I thank INEC for the courage to be able to do so. You see, in this country, setting up political party has become a business. And for some people, they just set up political party to be able to have opportunity of possibly speaking on national television, Channels TV, some opportunity to also relate with some established politicians and get one trade or the other, but they are not really serious politicians. As far as I'm concerned, in Nigeria today, if electoral contest is anything to go about, you can only mention political parties like APC, PDP, ABGA, maybe in a particular state, and there's some splinter parties that come up by individual, like a senator that won on the platform of YPP, and that's no other, councillor or position in anywhere. The truth is that the 2023 election is going to be about a choice between the APC, my political party, and the party of our president, President Muhammadu Buhari, and the PDP. The other people that you said thought first, there was a time some people even named their own political party mega political party. Where at the end of the day, the mega political party never had a councillor, no talk of a local government, chairman. I want to say, and I say with all sense of responsibility, it is wrong to just say that APC and PDP should be thrown away. My party, the APC, has brought tremendous and quantum development in all aspects of human life. In terms of our humanitarian intervention, never, and I say never in the history of our country, has been a government bold enough to take governance to the vulnerable society. Our social intervention program, in terms of Empower, in terms of trader money, in terms of the agric intervention, which even saw in part of your interlude, our intervention in developing local agriculture and massive infrastructure. You go to the second Niger Bridge, you see the work that is going on. You go Lagos-Ibadan railway project also going on. Kaduna, Abuja railway project already on board, as well as major roads being constructed all over the country. Then you also see intervention in the area of reform of legislation in the area of petroleum industry. This is a bill that had been in the offing for more than 15 years. So when it comes to giving a redirection to governance in the country, my party, APC, has been able to do that. No doubt, we have challenges, particularly occasioned by the COVID-19 pandemic and the attendant economic downturn, which is a global phenomenon. So to say that some people who had one way or the other been active participants in one political party or the other, but have failed woefully, coming around to say they are the one that want to give third force to the country is a laughable idea. I look at the dramatic personnel that were the so-called Rescue Nigerian project today. You go, you are a political, you are expert in the political history of Nigeria. Tell me any of them that has not had any stint in one governance or the other, and what has been the record in that regard. So an assemblage of failed politicians, either elected or appointed, cannot say that they want giving third force movement for the country. And I also laugh when people say Nigerians have said this. Today, I represent people of Osun Central Senatorial District in an election that was contested and was not challenged in an election tribunal. So when I speak not as Ajibola Bashiru. I speak as somebody who was a candidate of APC and was elected in a democratic contest to represent the people of Osun Central. People who don't have that mandate, who don't have that pedigree, they come out and say they are speaking for Nigerians. Which Nigeria are they speaking for? A political party that does not have a councillor or local government will be talking of taking over power at the national level. Then just a few months before election, people come around and come and bandit themselves as they are coming up with alternative program.
Senator, let me ask you, we're on national television, and in the days of the internet, they say internet never forgets. All our conversations today are going into record. Can you tell Nigerians, because some of this description, whatever will happen today will be what we do that may affect the nearest future. Can you tell Nigerians in all fairness and in truth that your party has met the aspirations of Nigerians, has done what it promised to do?
Yes, in large extent. Yes, we have succeeded. In certain respects, we have challenges, but I will say that we have put all our best in addressing some of the concerns that we raised as part of electoral promises. In the area of governance, in the area of infrastructure development, in the area of legislative intervention, we have done creditably well. Of course, every government in the world, even advanced democracies, there's always room for dynamism, there's always room for changes. Even United States of America, even China, land that Xi Jinping is even making a change towards the economic direction. So we have the capacity
I wanted to follow
continue
up,
to dynamically address challenges.
I want to follow up on that before I come to Alhaji Tanko. I want to follow up on what he said. So you think that what we are getting right now from your party as the ruling party is the best that we can get in Nigeria? You don't think that Nigerians deserve another taste of the handling of our life and our livelihood as a people?
If Nigerians deserve, it's for Nigerians to decide, and that is why there will be an election in 2023. It's not for somebody to come here without even a platform to contest for power and be casting aspersion on the tremendous work that's been done by my political party. I say that Nigerians don't have the right to aspire to El Dorado. The El Dorado will have to be aspired within the contest to power. Democratic contest is about alternative. So if people have alternative, let them bring it. Then when election come, let us contest for it. But take it to the bank that I told you that the so-called residential project is a special purpose vehicle which is bound to fail, and it will fail definitely.
So this is like a call and response question that I wanted to ask you. You think that your party is the best thing that has happened to Nigeria since 1999?
That is why I'm still a member of that party. We are the best that has happened to this country since 1999, and we're going to continue to provide leadership for the country by the grace of God beyond 2023. I'm very confident about that.
All right. Alhaji Yunus Atanko, I'd like you to respond to what Senator Basiru said.
Thank you very much. It is this particular, permit me to use this grandstanding and this kind of arrogancy that has led the former political party from where they are. Remember, a PDP at a point in time told us that they are going to rule this country for 60 years and above, before the advent of the APC, which is a conglomerate of different federations who form into one. And then at the end of it all, Nigerians believe in what they sold to them, the mantra of change. And at the end of it all, this is what they have so far. We are talking about a country where some couple of years ago, we are buying a bag of rice at the point of 7,000 naira. Today, how much is a bag of rice? It's a staple food that every Nigerian eats. We are talking about a country where at a point in time, the security apparatus of this country has been completely disappointed. And what we have today is time bomb exploding in everybody's home. We're talking about a country where it's been led by this particular leadership, and then the people, of course, are crying every day for hunger. And then you are talking about the infrastructure that you put in place. What about the people in which you are ruling? We're talking about a country where Nigerians have heavily been indebted into unbelievable countries. Even we are going to charge to look for loan. What a disgrace. We are talking about a country where Nigerians have been working very, very hard to get themselves united because the country has been so much polarized and divided along ethnic and tribal lines, even religious lines. We're talking about a country that Nigerians are so much tired of because they don't have an alternative. And you call some of us who have been on this particular trenches for so long, demanding for good governance. There's nothing wrong with you extrapolating some of the good things that you've done. But quite honestly, Nigerians are not happy with what they are having at the moment now. We have seen it all. We are saying that there should be an alternative for the Nigerian people. Yes. When the time comes, let the Nigerian people decide. You just giving us an opium. You've just energized us by telling us that, yes, Nigerians are fools for have continued to believe in what you have sold to them. So Nigerians, the question is on your table now. They have told you what they can do, and they will continue to fool you and deceive you. Whether you like it or not, you don't have an option. It's either to vote for them or nothing more. But we are saying that we are giving you an alternative. And that is what we are presenting to the Nigerian people. But quite honestly, it is quite unfortunate that some of the Nigerian people that we thought that probably can be able to defend the integrity of this country are those ones who are selling a foul guinea pig to the Nigerian people.
All right, God two quick questions before I allow Senator Basiru to come back into the conversation. The first and foremost, he said the APC is the best thing that has happened to Nigeria since 1999. Do you agree?
Oh, definitely not. Definitely not. I'm just giving you a difference of what it was before we come and find ourselves in this particular situation. The most important, most painful aspect of it is the deceit and the lies. There's a contradiction when you hear Mr. President, no matter how good intention he has, when you hear him say one thing today, his handlers say the different thing tomorrow. Nigerians don't even know exactly what message to believe that comes in from our leadership in this country anymore. So Nigerians are they are just looking, take a look at it. Here we are in this country where almost every state now is looking out for its own security apparatus. A case study is the Ametokun in the southwest. In the north, you have Shege Kapasa. In the southwest, in the southeast, we have the other ones that they've come up with. At the end of it all, we have the ECN. Now, what we have is the country at the brink of complete disintegration.
All right.
And
so
we are saying that we cannot allow such to happen.
Another question that he has raised. He has questioned the capacity of your group, which he said is not the first time that we're seeing such thought first or alternatives are coming, but he said it amounted to nothing. And he has questioned that, look, according to him, that it will amount to nothing in the end. The question is that, do you have the wherewithal to be able to prosecute a kind of opposition or alternative? Because elections are expensive in Nigeria. Do you and your group have that deep pocket to be able to do that?
Exactly. That is exactly the way they want Nigerians to believe, that they've already monetized the whole processes so that if you don't have money, you cannot run for election. We are saying Nigerians should say no to it. Yes, we may not have the watchers, people who have opportunity to use state resources for the benefit of their own political party. We may not have that particular watchers. But one thing we have is the people on our side. And we believe the people will decide exactly where they want to go to. And the fact remains that we have been in these trenches for a very long time. The story of the APC is not new to anybody. Some of us have known the story. Before the APC came in, we all know how they fought together and how they were in different political parties before they come together and fuse into one. And at the end of it all, they wrestle for power, which they are not prepared to govern. But here we are saying that we have tried it before. We want to try again. We want the Nigerian people to believe in us. It's not even we that are crying now. It's the Nigerian people that are crying. They are tired. They are the one begging. You can see the program that happened yesterday was just a program of intellectuals. Before you knew it, the pressmen had already turned it into a political party. It's not even the political party. It is the huge and cries of the Nigerians that if the government is doing fine and fantastic, nobody will be crying for another alternative.
We need to go now. I'll allow Senator to give us, to wrap up for us with his comment. I'd like, in just about a minute, Senator, your response so that we can close.
You see, what I would say is that Tanko Yunusa that is speaking there was national chairman of NCP for several years, even before APC was formed. You can ask him, Sheung, maybe as a final shot, how many seats has he won in any House of Assembly?
We want a state assembly
in Nigeria.
We want a state
please,
assembly.
let me finish.
Go ahead.
I want you to talk.
Please.
How many assembly have you won? How many local government have you won? How many councillor have you won? How many governorship seats have you won? How many seats in National Assembly have you won as a political party? How did you lead your party to the extent that it has become a deregistered political party today? Because what you have and what you are also projecting is a special purpose vehicle only to be making rudderless allegations that is not baseless, only to divert attention from genuine issues of governance, genuine issues of development, which as a political party, we are ready to confront, we are ready to continue to learn from genuine oppositions who have alternative program to be able to enlighten and educate whatever we are doing in governance. Not just to come and make statements. You talk about centralization of security. I, as a senator, I sponsor bill for state police. I believe a decentralized police system. It is not as a sign of the fact that any society has a challenge, then you look at how do you tackle those challenges. And as I said, it is easier to just make allegations. You talk about the way society has been run. You have had opportunity to contest for power within the context of political party, what have you done? I mean, with
All right,
it.
we need to close now, Senator.
It's also in the same line of just a futile effort just to divert the attention from the need issues of governance and forward-looking governance in the country.
We have reached the point where we need to go. Apologies, Alhaji Tanko, because we do not have time any longer. But I must appreciate you. Yeah, I must appreciate. And that's not the sorry. Apologies. We need to go now. Alhaji Tanko, thank you so much for coming. Senate lead spokesperson, Senator Ajibola Basiru, thank you so much. It's good to see someone who will vex you to speak like this. It's always very good to see. And it's a challenge to your party and every other political party. Nigerians deserve better, isn't it? Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. And that's our show. I'm sure Kimale. Bye-bye.